Greetings, everyone. Greetings. I'm going to keep saying greetings until I have everyone's attention. Okay. My name is Dr. Michelle Hancock, and I currently serve as the Vice President of College Culture for Inclusion at Carthage College. I want to welcome you to our Children's Library celebration of 100 extraordinary women. In an increasing digital world, the role of a children's library as an important institution is often undervalued. But it is precisely the onslaught of gadgets and technology in a child's life that makes the role of the library more important than ever. A library is not just a place that houses books. It is a place where children learn to explore and imagine a world beyond their own. It is a place where the young readers interact with the varied community of book lovers. The value of a children's library extends well beyond merely teaching a child literacy skills. And I know this to be true because of my life of living in the library as a younger child. So I'm going to do a call and response with you because I want to share with you my experience as a child, what I remember going to the library and the place that was a place where I could dream. So let me share this with you. I'm going to say a children's library, and I'm going to start it off, and then I'm going to point to you, and I want you to say, as an audience, a children's library. And then I will read to you my thoughtful statements I made reflecting on my own life as a child and utilizing a children's library. Can we do that with me, please? Okay, I'll start it off. A children's library is a safe place, a place that provides a physically and emotionally safe environment for children where they can dream through books and engage in activities that reinforce individuality. A place, especially a place, where children can freely express themselves without fear of prejudice and negative judgment. Is a brave space. Students can give themselves permission to be vulnerable in a children's library. They make a conscious effort to create space for their deeper engagement, both for themselves and with each other. Children can become curious in a children's library and learn about the different perspectives and seek to understand what they see and why they see it that way. Is a place to step out and take a risk to experience something that might be different for the purpose of creating a learning opportunity or a teachable moment. Provides opportunities for critical thinking that allows children to question and being open to being questioned. Helps young people to examine their intentions and also enables children to hold themselves accountable for their words and actions, thus promoting a deeper level of self-awareness. Allows oneself to be in the moment with intention. It's a quiet place that promotes mindfulness to help young people to be aware of their inner chatter and emotions and quiet them without judgment. I know that because my mother had the experiences with 5 kids in the library. Okay? So each one of us who donated, because we believe in the importance of libraries. We at Carthage College are honored to support this evening's event for the very reasons I shared with you. I hope you will enjoy this evening's festivities, and I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Dr. Hancock. What a wonderful way to start this event. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mary Matthews, and I was privileged to chair the planning committee for the 100 Extraordinary Women effort. You are extraordinary women, and I'm so glad to see you all here tonight. And you should know, the first thing I'm going to say is that there are now 156 of you. We're going to do this kind of informally, so if you would like to continue to get up and pick up refreshments, please feel free to do so. This is a recognition of the power of women in this community, and we're here to celebrate that power and that force because you in this room and your sisters who couldn't be here this evening are going to make a huge difference in thousands of children's lives. And that is a testimonial we can all be proud of. This got started in kind of an interesting way. I have what I consider to be the world's greatest daughter-in-law. And she lives up in Sun Prairie, and several months ago she posted on her Facebook page, which I only belong to so I can see the most recent pictures of my grandkids, an article about her participation in this thing called 100 Extraordinary Women in Sun Prairie to raise money for their library. And I thought, wow, that was interesting. And I happened to be having lunch with Barb Bratton, the library director, and I said, my daughter-in-law Joy told me about this group, and she said, really? She said, that sounds fascinating. Can you get some material about it? So Joy sent me the material, and then Barb went to a conference, and who did she run into but Jody Sweeney, who's the woman who has founded 100 Extraordinary Women, and we took off from there. So in just the last 3 or 4 months, we have come from a dead standstill to this, and I think it's a wonderful accomplishment and a great testimony to the spirit of this community and to the women of this community. I'd like to acknowledge the women who served with me on the committee, on the planning committee for this event. Please stand, would you please? Barb Bratton, of course, Brandy Cummings, Adeline Green, Ellen Kupfer, Betsy Leach, Diana Hodges, Linda Noyes, and Courtney McNeil and Michelle Tucker joined us this evening to help with the setup. Please stand up and be recognized for all your hard work. And we are also here to enjoy the services of our photographer, Katie McGonigal, and our videographer, Jason Rimkus, who is from the Kenosha Community Media. Now, to get on with the rest of the program, I'm going to introduce the dynamic duo of the Kenosha Public Library. Here are you ready? Because this is going to take you away. I'm going to turn it over now to Barb Bratton and Brandy Cummings, who will start with a short video, and then you are going to be the first people ever to see the PowerPoint presentation on what the new library is going to look like.
I believe in the power of story. It's probably the main reason I became a librarian. Communities that have low literacy have high crime, high poverty, and high unemployment. Every one of our buildings has a children's department.
Of course, there are books and movies and audiobooks, but we also have interactive play areas because we know here that a child's job is to play. So there's STEM opportunities, and there's a lot of what we like to call sneaky learning, where kids think they're just building with blocks, but really they're learning how to engineer or problem solve or create.
I think that every library responds to what its community needs, and therefore it acts like a community center.
So the Kenosha Public Library is excited to share that we're in the development of building a brand new library in the Uptown neighborhood that's specifically for children. It's going to be over 7,000 square feet of interactive learning experiences, as well as all of the resources that the community has come to know and love from their library.
I love the idea of what it will do for the families in our community, that can't afford to go to more expensive museums of, children's museums that are far away or, like I said, very expensive. So this will be a really cool thing to have, and I'm sure it will bring in people from other cities too.
Kids always get sick of the stuff they have at home too, so without having to purchase everything, having access to all that at the library is really great.
The new space will be on the first floor of the Uptown Lofts project, and there'll be a restaurant, a small restaurant, and also a grocery store next to us.
We'll have a robust, diverse collection of materials that's going to reflect all of the children in our communities.
It's pretty fun here. I like doing stuff in the library.
I like to play with Phoebe.
All the interactive stuff is always fun, especially with my sister and stuff.
The heart of Uptown has seen a lot of tragedy in the last few years. We know that with the civil unrest we experienced as a community, and also the pandemic, and even pre that. And so to be able to bring this ray of light, this ray of growth, and really this promise of a brighter future into that area as part of the redevelopment is so exciting.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your patience as I switch over screens.
Should have worn higher heels.
I'm sorry. You think I'd learn to stop wearing such high heels. Thank you. And it's this one.
So the joke's been since we did that video, and thank you, Kaba, by the way, for sponsoring that video for us. The joke's been that Brandy's so bright and energetic, and I'm so serious. And I can tell you that the whole presentation tonight's going to be the same way, because when I divided up the slides of who should say what, I got all the serious ones. So I'm going to start with the serious part, and I'm going to tell you one more time that I do believe in the power of story. And I also believe in the power of extraordinary women and the men who love them. Thank you for the men who love them, to affect great change in this world. And I believe in the power of libraries. And because we connect communities with information, yes, we do that, but we also are a great connector of community. And we are the place where people come together. And so, I've blown it already. But thank you. Thank you. I can't thank you enough, and you'll hear me say this over and over. This is a real heartfelt thank you, because you are kicking off something really important tonight.
I just want to take a moment to echo Barb's thanks. When we started this project and we had the opportunity to announce at the Kaba Inspire program last year, we were so grateful to be able to stand in front of over 500 regional business leaders to talk about, at that point, what was just a promise of a new library, just an idea, just a seed in our hearts and our minds of bringing something really beautiful to our community. And when we think about why that's so important to us, it's because it's what we already do. So on this slide here, you get to see the beautiful smiling faces of Kenosha Public Library that serve you at our 4 locations, 2 bookmobiles and a Wi-Fi van throughout the entire county, and all of the great and wonderful work that they do. So while Barb and I get the pleasure of standing up here, being with you and celebrating with you, we certainly couldn't do it without each and every one of them, and we're so grateful. Our library really focuses on our 3 strategic promises, which is to strengthen neighborhoods, to keep people curious, and to inspire learning. And what better place to make sure that those promises are not only kept, but also are learned than with our children. This is work that we do every day in your neighborhoods, in our beautiful locations, out on the street, whether we're at events or at bookmobile stops. All of this allows us to meet the needs of the community. And what's so great about the work we do is it's for everyone. We're a very busy place. Pre-pandemic, our program numbers alone were 225 a month. And why do I know that? Because as the marketer, I had to touch each one of those programs. 225 a month, my friends, that's a lot. But look at those faces, look at that joy. We teach technology skills, we teach children empathy, and we teach adults how to make friends, how to reconnect, especially after all these years that we've shared the importance of distancing. And I think that leads really well into Barb's next point.
Which is, so then came the pandemic, right? And so we talk a lot about who got sick, and we're actually shared some COVID stories out in the lobby. But it made us more than sick. And what it did was that it affected our children in a different and more prolonged way. Even the children who didn't get sick, they were socially isolated. I had a staff member I talked to today who is a 2-year-old now, and of course that child was born during the pandemic. And the baby had no socialization for the first 2 years with other children. So how does that work? You've got that physical need to get out there, and some kids couldn't do that either. And that social need, how do you get along with other kids, right? How do you share? And your emotional needs, like how do you keep your temper under control? How do you regulate those emotions? And then the cognitive, we seem to lean toward that. And of course, you'll hear a lot about the 3rd grade reading level from us tonight. So we do focus on that. But that social emotional really feeds into those other things, right? So this is what they said in 2021, that 4 in 10 parents say their child fell behind academically. That's no surprise, right, about the pandemic. But 3 in 10 say that their child experienced mental health or behavioral problems. So that's a little bit harder to make up than teaching little Johnny to read. In Kenosha, it's pretty severe. So where are we now? I told you I'd be the serious one. Here we go. I don't know how well you can see that, but you can go to the site for Building Our Future, which is a collective impact group that's working here on these problems together. A lot of different agencies work together, and they have terrific data, and they keep it up here with us. Anything that's a red arrow, even if it's pointing up or down, is a bad thing. In other words, things got worse in that area. So those green areas are positive change. So the tiny children are attending and engaging more. That's no surprise. COVID is pretty much over, although people can argue about that. They are coming together more than they used to. But things like persistence is down. Social problem solving is down. And then when we get down to the older kids, we've got a situation where only 23% of 8th grade kids in Kenosha County can do math proficiently, 23. And only 31% of our 3rd graders can read at a 3rd grade level. So there's a reason we're building a children's library. So why do we focus on 3rd grade? Because you'll hear any teacher say, we'll teach you how to read all through 3rd grade. And then in 4th grade, we're not teaching you to read anymore. You need to learn how to read earlier, because now you're going to read to learn. So if you're not reading proficiently by the time you get to 4th grade, you're going to be behind your whole career. If you look at the racial breakdown, you'll see an even bigger gap. If you look at the Caucasian children in our county, that 42% are reading at a 3rd grade level in 3rd grade. I don't think that's anything to brag about. That's kind of where we were when I got to Kenosha in 2014, and I thought that was abysmal. But 13% of Hispanic children, we can sort of understand how they could be a little farther behind if their parents aren't English speakers. I know my own grandson is being raised bilingually, so he was a little further behind because all his words were, he had to have all his words in Spanish and in English, and now he reads above a grade level, thank you. But it took him a while, right? He was a little bit further behind because he was managing 2 languages, so you can sort of understand. It's a big question mark why only 5% of our black children in 3rd grade are reading at a 3rd grade level. And it's a question we need to ask ourselves. A child who cannot read is going to be in a lot of trouble, right? A child who won't get a high school diploma. He's not going to go to college, and she will work for minimum wage, and we know how well you can do on minimum wage, right? But what about the community? The community is going to have high crime, high poverty. You heard me say it. Economic stagnation. This is very important for business people to pay attention to. Who's your workforce if 23% of our 8th graders can do math? Doesn't look good, right? So our children are in crisis. So let's build a library for kids.
What's so exciting about this project is it's not only a dream that we've had for a long time, creating a space that's interactive for children, because we know that children learn through play, right? A child's job is to play. But it's also a chance for us as a community institution that believes in the promises of strengthening neighborhoods, of keeping people curious and inspiring learning, to take a tragedy and turn it into something really beautiful. So one of the reasons that we've picked this picture for the slide is I'd like to draw your eye to, we're looking down the 22nd Avenue corridor here, where many of us can remember what it was like to wake up to our city in flames. My wife and I bought a home in 2020, not too far from here, and I can remember the constant sound of helicopters opening my door the next day to the smell of smoke. You know, it was traumatic for all of us. But as we see on this corridor here, all those buildings with the green awnings, which have since been removed, which held decades of generational businesses, decades of Kenosha history, gone. And we get to bring it back with a new promise, a promise of hope, a promise of joy, a promise of potential, but also a promise that we believe that Kenosha can build better. And where better to start building better than with our kids, right? That's who's going to inherit all of this from us. And that's what makes this a real mission work for us. So this is the rendering of that building that would have been right where all of those green awnings were. Above us is 70-ish apartments. And on the first floor, it's over 7,000 square feet for a children's library, a locally owned grocery store, a locally owned restaurant, which I think is just such a beautiful thing to bring into that neighborhood, to really continue to cement the Uptown neighborhood, which is our second largest business district here in Kenosha, with locally owned businesses, and what better locally owned institution than a public library. So we get to dream in our jobs day in and day out, and there's many times that I'll pop into Barb's office and ask for a minute, and we both chuckle because we've never, either of us, been able to talk for only a minute to each other or anybody else, whatever that means. But we get to really focus in on all the wonderful work that our team gets to do. You know, we get to dream about how this library will help children be curious their entire lives. And what does that mean? As we get older, that natural curiosity that's innate to us, right? For those of us who have raised babies, if you're like me and a really active auntie, you remember that for babies, it's all curiosity. Everything goes in the mouth, things go on the head, things go up the nose, it's a nightmare. But it's curiosity, they're exploring, they're discovering. As we get older, that leaves us. We learn our lessons, the stove is hot, we don't want to touch it anymore. We learn not to, eat things that taste bad. We learn to listen when our parents say, please stop putting things in your nose, hopefully. But that curiosity is still inside each of us. Our dream is that the third grade reading proficiency will soar because we know that a literate and educated society benefits each of us no matter what stage of life we're in. I'm getting closer and closer to 40 every day, and the thought of 8th graders, only 23% of them being proficient at math, makes me very worried about my health care as I get older, right? All of this affects all of us, no matter what stage of life we're in. We also want children to learn how to interact with each other and other safe adults, how to identify safe adults, how to identify helpers in the community. Mr. Rogers has that lovely quote about always looking for the helpers. Libraries have been the helpers since the cornerstone of their existence. We build these communities, we build these safe spaces. And we also want to create a space for caregivers and parents to learn from each other, but also to be supported by the community. One of the things I was most proud of when we responded to the pandemic was how quickly our Youth and Family Services team sprung into action to provide to-go kits and virtual programming for the community. One of my favorite programs that they put together was a toddler talk time that focused on getting the toddlers up on Zoom and letting them see each other and get all the wiggles out. But it also gave those parents a chance to see those familiar faces, to connect with people that they used to see weekly at story time, to realize that in the middle of a completely unpredictable, stressy mess, they weren't alone, that this community was still standing with them, we were still looking for their faces, we were still waiting for them to join us. This library allows us to tell the children of Kenosha that we believe in them. Not only do we believe in their potential, as we know every child is nothing but unbridled potential, right? But we believe that Kenosha is a place for them to stay, for a place for them to invest in, to live their lives, to build their businesses and their families. And this is just the foundation for that. And we can't do it alone by any means.
So we have partners that are lining up with us, and I could go around here and tell you, but I'm going just to pull a few. Carthage, thank you for your advice about, and K-Tech as well, about exactly how we should arrange things and how do we grab a group of kids who are very used to high flashy screens, and how do we grab them and get them their attention into a library setting. So we've got the academics partnering with us. And Blue House Books, I'm very delighted to tell you, is going to crowdsource the collection. In other words, they're going to have a website up with all the books that we really do want to put into that library, and the community can just get into that website and buy any book that they see there and donate it to the library. So that's going to be great for us. This is something that you probably can't see too well, but that is what we're working with the architect right now. This is the arrangement, and there is on that side, I think. Yeah, right there. There's a blow up of that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff and you want to see where everything is, we're going to give you some pictures. Thank you. We're going to give you some like more friendly pictures than that. But if you want to see the drawing, that's how it's all going to be arranged. There's a lot to do in 7,600 square feet. The good news is that we're serving birth through 5th grade and not the entire community in that space. But here we have the look when you walk in the front door, and the colors won't be this, but I just want you to see this 3D kind of model. If you walk in the front door off of 22nd Avenue, this is what you're going to see. And so like right there in the middle where it says Explore, that's going to be an interactive area for all aged kids to do some manipulative things. So the idea is that younger kids learn from older kids, and so you don't want to separate them completely. You want to give them a space to interact, and especially since most families have a range of ages anyway, right? So they can all be doing something and learning something physically there in the middle. And if you walk straight down the aisle where the windows would be, if you can sort of figure that, then you'll go straight back to like that preschool area. And along the way, there's going to be a baby garden. Does that sound cute or what? And then that back wall that you see behind the word Explore, that includes an art room and an activities room. And then the older kids are going to be sort of where the service desk is. You can see them in the corner, and I've got it better. That's what that older kid area is going to look like. That's kind of a mock-up of that. Like I said, be different colors and things like that, but you sort of get the gist of this is a collaborative area because that's how kids in this age group actually learn. They interact with each other, and then there's lots of books. And this is Brandy again.
She really did give me all the fun slides, which I greatly appreciate. So we're designing something bold. If you've been to our buildings before, you know that we're not shy about using color. We're not shy about activating our spaces. In fact, we know a thing or two about creating engaging, active children's spaces. In fact, DIMCO, which is the nation's largest library furniture provider, continues to use our Northside Library as their standard for the best way to design children's spaces. So this is our Northside Library. Beautiful, right? Yes. Yes, yes, and we do need to take a moment to thank our Kenosha Public Library Foundation, who helped us bring this dream to life. And we're so grateful every day to be able to celebrate with our families and really engage with this. This was also the space we used for the video from Kava, because we know that it's just a space that's perfectly designed for children and their families. So when we started talking about this project, we had a pretty high standard, right? So we started researching. What about children's museums? How do we inspire STEM and STEAM learning in our kids in a way that lets them explore with their hands, that lets them learn and play and laugh and grow and get messy and make mistakes? How do we let them act out what they see adults in their lives do every day? I mean, how many of us have heard kids just mimic their parents or their older brothers or siblings? Right now in our Southwest Library Children's area, which my office shares a back wall with, there's a grocery store set up much like this, where I get to often hear kids either selling donuts or chastising people for not paying or the other day it was that there was an item in the bagging area that had not been scanned. I was like, oh, yes, this kid makes those grocery store trips. But we know that it needs to be more than just fun toys, right? And we're so great at that. We have manipulatives on our walls, much like you see in this picture, that help those fine motor skills. We're looking at spaces that activate the entire space, floor to ceiling. How do we make sure that everything that we're putting into this new building is engaging and is bright and is beautiful? Barb and I are fighting over this chair. We both want it for our own homes. Gorgeous. Our friends at Boston Public Library have done this absolutely well. But how do we purposely make sure that kids have those nooks to read in, to curl up in, right? To dive into that story, to imagine, to play. When we talk about baby gardens, this is what a baby garden looks like. A baby garden's a nicer way of saying a corral, right? We want to keep those little ones who are just like unbelievably fast in a nice, safe, soft area. What I love about this is you can see that there's adults and older kids all engaging with different pieces in this. And it's, again, a space where community is born, where people meet each other for the first time, where they grow up together, their kids grow up together. We have these beautiful front windows coming up in the new space that Barb and I are both dreaming about putting in comfy chairs so we can read. I mean, the kids can read in collaborative workspaces. I know, I feel like you're going to have to kick me out of this library a lot because it's just going to be so beautiful and so intentional. And we know that our city center has many, many good things going for it, but one of those things that is lacking is land, right? So we are very intentionally picking nature themes so that we can bring nature into the center of our city. We can introduce children to the importance of caring for the land that we live on, but also for exploring the science that's around them. Collaborative workspaces for all of our children to get together and work on homework, spend time together, read together, play together, and also an art room and activities rooms. So the art room is one of our biggest dreams. We're so excited to make it come true because we know that kids want to get messy, and we know that we hate when kids get messy at our house, right? Yeah, it's the worst. Here, we can hose down the whole room. You can send them to us and take them home, and it'll be great. We'll handle the cleanup. But we also get to inspire that next generation of designers, creators, graphic novelists. Like, we get to design movie makers, composers, songwriters, the people who get to tell about the love and joy of life through story, through song, and through art. Because ultimately, at the Kenosha Public Library, joy, curiosity, and hope live here. It lives with our institution. But we also want this to be our dream for the community, that each family that comes into this library realizes that joy, curiosity, and hope lives here in Kenosha. And so that's all the really fun stuff. I get to let Barb talk about the numbers.
But before I get serious, there are two people I want to introduce in the audience, and that is, we get a lot of love for our children's programs, and there is a genius behind those, and that is Heather Thompson. Heather, will you please stand? And we are also delighted to have the future branch manager of our new children's library with us, Khalil Griffin. Where are you? Khalil. All right, so we are not starting from zero. That's the good news. Clearly, we have $156,000 thanks to all of you. But we also have money from the American Rescue Plan Act that the city has set aside for us. So we have $750,000 is the price tag of the space. So while the developer may own the building, he doesn't own that space. That space belongs to the city. So $750,000 more is what we get to do the interior build out. And in today's prices, that doesn't go very far. So we are going after another $1 million. And you guys, with your generous donations, has kicked us off. And what we're going to do with that money is we're going to do the interior completion, because we get the outside. That's great. We don't have to build a building itself. And we're going to do programming and hopefully have a little bit of an endowment too. So when times get rough, we don't have to close any branches. We'll have enough to keep going. The project timeline, we have the design phase wrapping up, so we are right on schedule for that. Next phase, of course, is get those bids out and see who gets the contract. We're parted to do construction in September if all of those pieces go right, and then grand opening looks like it's going to be in the spring. And our supporters, our Kenosha Public Library Foundation. If you are a foundation member now or in the past, would you please stand so we can thank you? Yay. And the same for the Friends of the Library. Courtney is our president of the Friends right now. Courtney, are you out there? Do I see you? She's been so busy, she's not even in the room. Oh, Courtney, wave. Courtney is our Friends president and has been for years. She was also on the foundation. Between those two groups, we are so lucky to get all your support. And Mary talked about Jody Sweeney, who started this whole 100 Extraordinary Women. This was a gift from her husband to her to incorporate this idea for her one Christmas. She'll tell that story. And she's just been out there across the country doing that. She really does believe that women are the driving force for good, and that when we collectively get together around issues like children's needs, there's no stopping us. And so the goal was 100, and today we're at 156. So that is just amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, that was you.
Okay, took the fun one.
So I'm sure you've all heard this quote before, but nothing drives us more than this thought, and that it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. I will tell you, I talk to the alderman like this, and I say, how many more police people do you want to hire? Why don't you start at the beginning? Let's build some strong children. So you guys get that, and thank you for who you are. And like I said, you're starting our campaign. So tonight we are launching that For Every Child campaign, and we mean it. It is for every child. You saw the numbers. No one particular group in our county is doing really, really well. They're not doing math well, they're not reading well, and their social emotional development is way behind. Every child, that's what we're after, a library for every child. So we're asking you to continue on this journey with us. We're going to be fundraising from now to the end of the year. We've already had some of you reach out to us and say, I know this person and I know that person, and we're getting phone calls from businesses and corporations who say, I want to be part of this, and it's because you know somebody, so thank you. And if you do know somebody, please tell us, or please ask that person whether they'd be interested. $1 million is a lot of money to raise, and Brandy and I haven't done this before, so we're relying on you. All right, so watch us grow in 2024. 2024, yes. So I know, it's so exciting, right? It's crazy to believe that 2024 is this close. But what's really exciting, as Barb mentioned, we're launching that capital campaign. We do have information back at the registration table for you if you'd like to grab it on your way out or ask us any other questions. I have plenty of cards and plenty of Barb's cards if you'd like to take some and make some connections. Ultimately, the library continues to be a space that belongs to all of you. And we have the great honor and privilege of taking care of it for you and those who inherited after us. So please, let's stay connected. Let's talk about how we can dream together, and let's talk about how we can continue to build Kenosha into the community we've all known it always is. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for celebrating with us. By all means, please continue to eat and drink. We've got plenty of time, plenty of food, and in just a few moments we'll welcome Mary back up. Thank you so much.
Their inspiration, their dedication, and their vision, because they are leading us to, the library system is already great. They're leading us above and beyond, and I just want to say thank you so much to them for all that they do and have continued to do. I want to thank all the table captains, those of you who took a deep breath and decided to ask your friends for money. I know that's not easy to do. I know that. And we are all grateful for it. And those lovely, delicate little table centerpieces that were handmade by Betsy Leach and Linda Noyce and her husband are gifts to the table captains, so please take those home with you when you leave this evening. One of the first meetings I attended for the steering committee for the overall campaign for every child, the consultant said, "This is not fundraising. Do not look at this as fundraising. This is philanthropy," which means, from the Greek, a love of humankind. So what you are doing is giving people an opportunity to be philanthropic. And in that spirit, we're going to move forward and continue asking for money. Going to continue to try to give people opportunities to exercise that spirit of philanthropy. And when you think of it in those terms, it makes it much easier to ask and it makes it much easier to give. So in that spirit, I'm going to give you another opportunity to be philanthropic. I know some of you have commented that you have friends who would be interested in participating. We are more than willing to continue to accept contributions to the 100 Extraordinary Women effort. There are forms in the lobby if you want to pick some up, or give Brandy a call, and I'm sure she put one in the mail to you. But if you know of anyone who would be interested, please don't hesitate to ask. Think of how easy it was for you to be willing to participate, because this is so worthwhile. It can be that easy for other people as well. And on a smaller scale, but kind of fun, you will notice on your tables there are book plates. And if you would like to fill out a book plate, for $20, you can purchase a book for the library. And the plate will go in the book. You can dedicate the book to a child, a grandchild. If you have 4 or 5 grandchildren, one for each one would be nice. The library books do cost about $20 each, so the donation is $20 per book plate. If you would be interested, please fill them out, and on your way out, we would be more than happy to accept cash or check, and we even take plastic, because this is the 21st century, I guess, and we have to deal with plastic whether we want to or not. So please consider, Barb mentioned the website that people could go to buy books for the library. Well, this is a chance to buy one right here tonight or more and put a plate in it with your name on it because you're the extraordinary person supplying that book. My remarks are pretty much concluded. I am so overflowing with gratitude. I am really struggling for how to express it. But before, and I don't want the party to break up, by all means, continue enjoying each other. Enjoy the evening, enjoy the rest of the food and the wine. And what did I do with my wine glass? Because I want to raise a toast and I need my wine glass. Here's my toast to you. Raise your glasses, please. For every child to succeed, a kid's library fills a great need. So here's to you all, dark, fair, short, and tall. You are extraordinary women indeed. I salute you. That was the best I could do. Nothing rhymes with Kenosha.